really, really important, if you're going to be a successful case writer, that you have some knowledge of the case you want to write before you go to the company. Right? Companies don't exist in value capture and resourcing. There aren't a company that just says, oh, all we do is industry. There's no such thing. There isn't a company that says, we just do resourcing capabilities. Those are categories that an academic creates, right? When you go to a company, if you go to a company without having a sense of what case you're going to write, it's not going to be driven by learning objectives. So I disagree with you on this. Of course, there's not just because you want to write the case. Remember, did I decide on what company I'm going to write the case on in this process? No. I just decided what subject I'm going to write the case on. Right? What's the theory that's going to drive the case writing? If you don't have a sense of that, when you go to a company, you will not have any sense of what case will come out. And I would hate for you to think that when you start the case writing process, that you go to a company and they say, oh, I'm so glad you've arrived. Here's the case. We want you to write a case on this. That has never been my experience. My experience in case writing is going to companies. Company says, yeah, okay. I think that's we've never done that before. It's it's an opportunity to give back, and okay, yeah, we'll do that. And they depend on you to define the decision and the content. If you don't do it, if you've never thought about that before, it becomes a very, very unstructured and inefficient process, right? Anuj?
Many times it happens that we are not going to a company as such that I want to write a case for you. After that, many forums that come interacting and work together, and discussions start happening. And during those discussions, certain issues come up. Then you understand, okay, this is the situation that is happening. So that can become a material for me.
What do you teach?
I think interactive business.
So the case should be about either joint ventures, it should be an M&A, it should be a case about understanding cross-cultural management issues, and the truth is, you need to pick the areas you're going to write cases in. And that's what I'm asking you to do here. If you don't have a sense, and the company says, we would love to write a case on leadership, you should say, that's a case I can't write. I mean, there is a bit of a choice here. This isn't an arranged marriage between you and the company, and that you show up and at the end of it you have to make it work. This is a choice, right? You choose. I don't write cases on companies if they say, would you write it on IT? I don't know how to do that. And companies don't come to you and say, write a case on this. In fact, part of the skill, even in that conversation, is getting the company to see how a case in your area would be interesting. But your area must be clear, or you will not originate a case. It will not begin. If you let it happen, then the reverse happens. I have a case, or at least I have a company description. I'd like to turn it into a case. I can't tell you the number of times I've heard that in the workshops I've done. Right? I've done 11 of them now. Every workshop, somebody will come to me and say, I have an idea, or I have an experience base, or I have a company that's given me information. I'd like to turn it into a case. That is not how case writing occurs. We don't turn existing pieces of information into a case.
Don't you think a case starts with a problem?
The case starts
with a decision.
The case starts before a decision with an area that you want to write it in. That's what it starts with. It has to start from a theoretical lens. Because remember, the case is not going to publish without a teaching note. At all. At all. Write this down. It will never publish without a teaching note. So you start with the teaching. What do I want to teach? I like teaching resourcing capabilities. So this is one method. A very formal method. I encourage you to do it. I do it. I find it very helpful. Whether I end up writing cases or not, I find it helpful even in the classroom to remind what I'm teaching and what I'm not. Here's a second method. Much more informal method. Right? And it speaks a little bit to what Anuj was saying. What do you think? If there was a less formal method, what do you think it would look like? What do you think a less formal method would look like? How do people, some people use this to decide on what case they're going to write. How do other people decide? Yeah, sometimes they usually pick an organization. Right? Something in that organization they really like. Right? What else? What do they do then? Yeah, so it's an organization. So for some reason, right, whatever that reason is, right, they like this organization. Whether people can relate to it, whether they like the product of this company, whether they like the CEO in this company, there's something about the organization that they like. What else?
Gather information about the
So don't tell me how to do it. Tell me what else motivates a case. Access, right? Access is a great answer. They have a certain level of access. And we're going to talk about access. Because we're not just talking about selecting leads, right? We're talking about how you can select a lead. Then we're going to talk about how you generate the lead, right? Generate and secure. So this is all generating, right? So I may have some access. I may know someone. What else? What else do you do?
This in the product market area and the
Yep. So you personally have some academic interests, right? What else? Yeah, it's nice when it's something that's newsworthy. We're going to talk about that. What else?
There exists secondary data.
Pardon?
There exists secondary data.
Yeah, so something that has some secondary data, right? The potential for secondary data. Anything else? Something that would make a good story. Something that has story potential. Yeah. But you'd be able to tell it, right, in a way that was compelling. So we're going to talk about newsworthy in terms of headlines, right? We're going to talk about access. There's one thing you're forgetting.
maybe while teaching a course you figure out a void and then you want to explore it.
It should be something you like teaching. At the very least, it should be about a subject you like teaching. Because if it's not a subject, there's cases of all kinds of things. And it should be about a subject you like teaching. Right? Pardon me? Not if you're not an entrepreneurship professor. Wait, so Steve Jobs is dead, you know, right? Right. So the thing about you're still looking at cases, and I'm never going to convince you. I think you're still looking at cases as though they're just great stories about practice. Why would we spend so much money telling great stories about practice? Well, I mean, Forbes already does this. So does Fortune, and they have much more access than we did. Why do we bother with this? This is a huge waste of money there. No, but I'm talking to Anupam for a second, right? So why would organizations spend so much money, right, on this process if all it were a sexy story? No, Anupam, I don't need to tell you. I've been telling you for about 6 hours now. You are the ones who refuse to get convinced. So, it's an interesting story, right, Anupam? Because I can tell you, your framing of the question is practice. But 3 out of the last 4 answers that you come out of your mouth have suggested which cases are going to be great sellers. And every time the answer is one form or another of a sexy story. You can trust me or not, but I'm not going to keep answering the same question. Cases are not sexy stories. If you think that is what a case is, right? For those of you who are going to publish cases, you will go down an extremely, extremely wrong path. Right? That is not what a case is. Absolutely not. Right? It has to be grounded in theory. Absolutely has to be grounded in theory, and that's what I mean by like teaching. Not I like teaching, undergrads or grads. I like teaching this subject. This subject is fun for me. And you will notice, in the cases I've written, I love teaching value chain. I love teaching competitive advantage. I love teaching themes that fold into value chain. And because for me that's a phenomenal area that just interests me, the resource-based view of the firm and the value chain, most of my cases come out of that. Right? Nokia, I use this process. Starbucks, I just use this process. Not only a process, things I like, but I want to talk about two things, access and newsworthy. Let's talk about newsworthy. What does newsworthy mean? What does newsworthy mean?
Something which is uncommon, which is something which is not very common. Somebody has done something special or something, maybe plus side or minus side.
Okay, so something that's uncommon, right, that makes the news, and it could be positive or negative. Great.
Maybe a country for which the decision making is even. I mean, which would get the theory. Basically, if there is a situation where some kind of decision making is needed, which connects the theory and practice.
Something that you see just as something newsworthy, but that also has a good connection to theory.
Yes.
Okay. What else? What does newsworthy mean? Something controversial. Something controversial is almost always newsworthy, right? What else?